Hey guys, back at you again, Avenu here. All right, today going to talk a little bit more about sleep. I know I've gotten a lot of really cool and good responses and chatter around here among our clients, sharing the ones on sleep. It's just fascinating stuff as we trail down this road of what our sleep actually does for us beyond what we were just always told that it did. All right, so today I wanted to talk, as it's titled, Sleep versus Cancer. Before we dive into the cancer part of it, let's just talk about sleep versus the immune system, okay? So when we're talking about just even the common cold and what your body does to combat that, or the flu, especially since we're in flu season right now, this is a really good topic to get into. So just remember, every time you get sick, what do you want to do? You want to lay in bed and sleep. It is your body trying to sleep itself better, okay? So sleep fights infection and sickness by deploying all sorts of stuff out of your immune system, all the weaponry in your immune system. One bad night of sleep, your immune system can be severely depleted of all those really good things and cells and the armor that it has on to try to protect you. Some of the studies are going to show us just how depleted one night can be. So you can imagine if you're someone who sleeps chronically less than 8 hours a night and really less than 7, where are your immune functions at? Are you someone that constantly catches a cold every single year? Are you like, nope, I get that bronchitis every October or whatever it might be? So let's start asking yourself these questions about your sleep and how that is directly affecting your immune function. So study one that they did was 150 people were monitored with bracelets in a setting, right? So they weren't just monitored at home; they were actually in the lab setting. For 1 week, their sleep, okay? What was interesting is that they were put into 4 groups. There was a less than 5 hours of sleep, 5 to 6 hours of sleep, 6 to 7 hours, and then 7+ hours of sleep. So they watched them, tracked them for 1 week, just making sure that they got those hours of sleep. Then what they did, and the participants knew that this was happening, they quarantined them and they basically shot the flu virus up their nose, every single one of them. Then they tracked for the next week all the mucus, like not a study I'd want to be a part of, but all the mucus, saliva, everything that came out of their body, the researchers tracked it so that they could figure out who was getting the cold and who wasn't, okay? Here's the study, guys. This is the craziness. 5 hours of sleep average, they were 50% more likely to get the infection. 7 hours plus, 18%. That's huge. So right now, we're in the season fighting the flu, fighting cold. Sleep is your #1 way to combat it, all right? So study 2 was, all right, so I get the flu vaccine. That's just gonna stop me from getting the flu. Wrong. We all know that that's a little bit false, but what the doctors maybe haven't divulged to you in so many words, because it's a long spiel, is that when you get the flu vaccine, the amount of sleep that you actually are getting prior to getting that vaccine directly affects how much the vaccine is going to help your body. So the study 2 was they did 4 hours a night of sleep for group 1 for 6 nights. And then they did 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep for group 2 for the same 6 nights. Gave them the flu shot and then measured the amount of immune reaction antibodies released into their body. 50% less were actually released through the immune system with the flu vaccine for people sleeping less than 4 hours, or 4 or less a night. So that means you can be one of those people that gets 4 or less a night. You go get a flu vaccine, it is only giving you about 50% of what it's supposed to. You are only doing 50% of the immune reaction that it's supposed to. And they found that the same results happen for hepatitis A and B. So get the vaccine all you want. If you're not sleeping, it's not actually going to give you the immunity that you want. All right, let's get to talking about cancer, guys. So this is a big one. My dad actually has CLL. It's called chronic lymphocytic leukemia. He's had it for years. It's like the slowest moving cancer. He's actually never even had treatment other than just monitoring monthly by doctors. So this one hits home to me because my dad and my mom both just have never, in their minds, required much, but just have never been big sleepers. 5 to 6 hours a night, I would say most of the time I was growing up, was what they got. So your body releases natural killer cells. Think of these like 007 agents in your body. They go around, they find cancer cells, they punch a hole in the wall, and they release a protein in there that kills them, okay? At night, your natural killer cells are on the loose. They are hunting down everything in your body that's bad and trying to destroy it. One bad night of sleep, when they did this study of, I think it was like 150 healthy male and female adult women and men, 70% less of those natural killer cells were circulating in the immune system after one bad night of sleep. One night, guys, that's crazy stuff, right? So if you're a chronically bad sleeper, meaning you don't get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, imagine what your immune function, especially the natural killer cells, is at when you are just doing that every single night, okay? So here was another one. The study that they did was 25,000 people. So we're not talking a small sample size. There was a 40% increase if you were getting less than that 7 hours a night, 40% increase in developing cancer. So if you did that over a study of 100 people, there would be a lot of skew in there, right? Like, well, maybe these people were predisposed. 25,000 people is a big study. And then they did, and they replicated that same study over an 11-year period with like 75,000 people. And again, the statistics were just near that 40% mark. So your cancer, your ability to get cancer developing in your body increases significantly, like 40% if you're not getting a good night's sleep. What happens is your sympathetic nervous system turns on, and that's when inflammation is released. Why that's a good thing? If you were gonna go fight a killer wild animal, right? You're out on the trails and a bear comes at you, you have a sympathetic nervous response. It's flight or fight. It's like, oh my gosh. We all know that creates inflammation in your body. Great if it goes away, the bear, you fight it, the bear is dead, whatever. However, for all of us that are in a chronic state of sympathetic nervous going on because of our lack of sleep, inflammation is chronic in our body, okay? Inflammation for cancer cells is like a drug. It helps them mutate, it feeds the cells oxygen and blood. It's a really crazy correlation there with the inflammation and what that does for cancer. All right, so they did a study on mice, and if you're somebody that doesn't really like using animals as lab rats, you may not want to tune in for this, but I'll be PG with it. So in this study, when they took mice and they put cancer into their bodies, one group was able to sleep for their normal 8 hours, let's just say that, and the other group was disrupted sleep. 200% increase in the development of the cancer. And it was really interesting. Once the mice had died, they actually went in and looked at the tumors. In the mice group that didn't sleep, where they weren't letting them sleep, the tumor was more aggressive and it had metastasized, meaning it had spread further in the body to other regions than where it was just supposed to be. And what they found further from this study was that you have these in your immune system, there's two types of things released to fight cancer, your M1 and your M2. Some of you guys might be real familiar with those. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty on them, the sciencey stuff, but the M1s help combat cancer, M2s help spread it. Guess what, guys? When you don't get enough sleep, your M1 production goes down, combat goes down, M2 production goes up, spreading. So you can see they've now been able to really dissect and pull the curtain back, so to speak, on what the lack of sleep does. Not only does it increase your risk, but why it does, what the inflammation does, what it actually does to your fighting cells, to the cells that help spread it, and all that stuff. So I can't stress this enough. Like I said, this chapter really hit home for me with my dad, but getting a good night's sleep just to fight the common cold is a make or break deal, right? That is how you do it. In fighting cancers down the road, for some of you that have a lot of cancer genetics in your family, whatever that might be, sleep, sleep, sleep. And if you're going to get a flu vaccine, you might as well sleep, right? That way you know it's as potent as it can be. You help shed the rest of the world, or help the rest of the world or your community that you thrive in. You're not going to be spreading the flu, right? So again, guys, if you have any questions on this, please comment. I'd love to go over this researchy stuff with you, and I'll put the recap of the video in the comment section, or above it in the title. So have a good day, guys. Get some sleep. 7 to 8 hours tonight.